This is Kerrigan & Company. A&B Burger in Beverly and A&B Kitchen and Bar in Boston are redefining guest expectations of a casual restaurant. Both A&B restaurant locations are focused on hospitality, creative menus, and delicious food and drinks. Now, I've been to both restaurants many times and loved everything I've tried. Get to A&B Burger on Cabot Street in Beverly or head across the street from our studio at the TD Garden to A&B Kitchen and Bar in Boston today and experience the A&B difference yourself. I promise you're going to love it. Hi, everybody. This is Kim Kerrigan. Coming up on today's episode of Kerrigan & Company, we're talking arts and culture. This is Kerrigan & Company.
Kerrigan & Company is here for you. Yes, Kerrigan & Company is here for you.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of Kerrigan & Company, brought to us by A&B Burger. So great to have you with us, like always, and we've got a terrific show for you this week. I am thrilled at who's keeping me company today. Sandy Edgerley is a philanthropist here in Boston. She is the co-founder of the Quin, and she is here to my left, and it is great to see you.
Great to see you, too.
I have to tell you, I started to write out some of the stuff on your resume, and I thought, well, no, I can't because my pen will run out, so I won't be able to keep up with all of the things. I've mentioned a couple of them, certainly a philanthropist, and I want to get into some of the fabulous things that you do. But I want to start with the Quin.
Yes.
Because I think everybody in the city is excited about the Quin, which has been open since when?
Actually, we just had our third anniversary on Sunday. July 7th, 2021 was our opening day. And we just had cake and champagne for the members on Sunday to celebrate 3 years.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You guys opened that in 2021, so you had this in your mind and were working on it through the pandemic.
Yes.
Tell me about those challenges.
Oh, it was a challenge. We had the idea. It started as an idea, and an idea that we thought maybe someone else might do this in Boston. It would be something we would be excited for the city to have, and not necessarily thinking we would do it, my husband, Paul, and I. But then we started to get more and more passionate about the idea, and then actually had an opportunity to purchase the old Algonquin Club in Back Bay, which is a beautiful historic club, and then renovate it and sort of work on the design. And so that all happened really pre-pandemic, and we were right in the middle of construction and also building the membership and kind of the concept, thinking that we would open December of 2020 when, of course, COVID happened. And it was a challenge, I have to say.
Yeah.
But we paused construction for a few months. We paused our sort of membership approach for a few months and then regrouped and then relaunched everything the summer of 2020. And it took longer, so we opened July of 2021, but we were able to both finish the design and the construction, but also, more importantly, I think, build the membership excitement about the idea, which was, there were moments, I have to say, when I thought, oh my gosh, it's a global pandemic. Will anyone be able to gather again? Will people want to gather again? But we just forged ahead because we were sort of confident that the idea would be something that that would catch on.
So let's talk about the idea. The Quin is a private club in Back Bay, as you have mentioned. Tell me first what was behind the idea of it for you and Paul, your husband, and why you guys decided you would move in this direction.
Yeah. Well, it was a combination, I'd say, of Paul and I both came from other places. I grew up in New Jersey. He grew up in Kansas City. But we met in Boston and have been, we met here, married here. We've been married almost 35 years in September. We have 4 children who all 3 out of 4 live here, and really have had my husband career in private equity, for myself consulting, and then a lot of nonprofit involvement. So I think part of it was a passion for Boston and the community that is in Boston, and a real belief that Boston has this amazing, it's a small city, but we sort of punch above our weight in terms of the industries we have, the world-class healthcare, universities, biotech and life sciences.
I couldn't agree with you more about that, by the way.
Arts institutions, other,
absolutely,
sports teams. And so, yet there wasn't a place necessarily for all of the amazing people in the city to gather and find each other, or just unexpectedly meet other cool people.
Sure.
And that was just the germ of the idea, really, combined with this idea of like placemaking. So like, where is this going to happen? What is the space like? And we love design and art architecture. And so it was sort of the marriage of the community building aspect with the physical space, the beauty of having a physical space to gather in that kind of came together.
One of the things that I think is so interesting about the Quinn, or we can call it the Quinn House,
Yes,
right? Whichever one, is that first off, there's an art collection.
Yes.
Now that doesn't happen very often. So what was the impetus behind, obviously, a full art collection?
Yes, a full art collection. Really, I'd start with the membership. Our membership is very diverse. It's probably different than a lot of more historic clubs, or at least those that we were kind of aware of. They're starting to become more popular in other cities, but Boston didn't quite have one yet. And the idea for us was a diverse, cross-generational membership, and diverse across industries, diverse across ages. So we have 20-somethings just starting out, and then we have established leaders and also a very creative community and people who are involved in nonprofits. That was kind of the idea, was a very diverse mix across all dimensions. And then we wanted the art to really, the idea was live with art. So you may not have a Picasso or a Banksy or a Yinka Shonibara in your home.
Right.
But how nice would it be to have a place, which is sort of your place, that you can just come and have a cup of coffee or have a meal or sit and relax or meet a friend and be sitting next to one of those pieces of art, just in a very relaxed, comfortable way, not fancy or too precious. And that was really kind of the evolution of it. Started with that idea of the feeling, and then we collected art really over the entire period of time. We worked with a fabulous art curator, Kate Chertavian, of Kate Chertavian Fine Art, and she really helped us. And so we started with a collection that had come from the old Algonquin Club, which was some very nice but very historic pieces, so a few of those, and then we just kept adding and adding and adding. And really the idea was that the artists in the collection are reflective of the membership.
Does the collection actually belong to the Quinn, or is it a visiting, constant rotating kind of art collection?
We have a permanent collection in the Quinn that is there all the time. And then we also, I'd say, rejuvenate and change things up. We have special exhibitions. We have a very robust arts programming piece, too. So we have artists come and speak and exhibit. So recently we had Julian Schnabel came. He did a fabulous talk. And then we had some of his pieces from his personal collection he brought. And we had them on display for about 3 months. So we kind of mix it up with pieces that are there for a period of time. And then, but we do have a permanent collection, too.
That's great. Yeah. That's terrific.
And it's kind of fun. I think when you walk in, we have two important pieces, I'd say historically important. We have a Rodin thinker right on the table when you walk in, and we have a Picasso above the mantle, which for me was always important, this idea of having really important artists. But we also have a Julie Moretu print right when you walk in. She's an artist of Ethiopian descent, and her piece is just as importantly represented as the others. And so that's kind of the idea. We have current artists. We have a number of members who are artists who have pieces in the club. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's part of the fun of it all.
Well, part of what makes it very unique, I think, for sure. I know also you have said that there are rooms that you sort of anticipated would be used for one reason and have sort of morphed into something else.
Yes. Well, I think because we planned before COVID, I think we did our very best to think about what kinds of spaces our members might be interested in using and how people might use it. And then we discovered, of course, that some things have changed.
Sure.
So recently, one of the changes we've made was we took 2 rooms that were really kind of conference rooms. We thought, there might be business meetings, that kind of thing. Well, people don't really need a space for business meetings anymore. There's a lot of available office space all over for that, I think. And so we ended up reimagining those 2 spaces, combining them into one private event space. So Ken Falk, our amazing interior designer and creative director, who helped us with all of the design, helped kind of reimagine this space, and we just reopened it as the Muse. So it'll be a place for, dinner parties or cocktail parties. We'll also use it for programming events. And we have this custom de Gournay wallpaper surrounding the room. It's just absolutely spectacular. So I hope you'll come over and see it.
It sounds absolutely beautiful. What's the membership?
I will say we don't share numbers, but it's just enough. It's one of those hard things to figure out which is right. What's the right number? For us, it's always been about vibrancy. So when you come in, to the Quin, you'll always feel like it has a little bit of a buzz to it. It's active, but not so busy that you can't come and have dinner on a Friday night if you'd like to in one of our soon to be. We have 3 dining venues. We're about to open a 4th Latin restaurant. Yeah, so you can always come in and get a meal, but also you want to be able to see people and have it be interesting.
Sure.
So it's kind of that balancing act.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that we're always constantly monitoring.
Well, the Quin, it is the buzz of Boston. There's no two ways about that. Everyone is talking about it, and I'm thrilled that you could share some information about it. Now, we talked about philanthropy off the top, and we're going to take a break, but we're going to circle back to talk more about your philanthropic involvement, because that's actually how I first was exposed to you and first came to know of you through some of the many wonderful things that you do. So I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, we want to talk a little bit about the arts here in the city of Boston. We've talked about it obviously at the Quin. It's very important to you, important to the fabric of the city. So in a moment, we're going to talk about that right here on Kerrigan and Company. It's baseball season, so are you headed to Fenway anytime soon? If so, you've got to stop by the newest A&B Burger location at Time Out Market Boston. You can get your favorite burgers at A&B's new quick serve restaurant, which is located at 401 Park Drive. Time Out Market Boston is located in the buzzing Fenway neighborhood, and A&B is the latest and the best restaurant to join this creatively curated dining destination. A trip to Fenway, whether you're headed to a game or maybe you just like the vibe in the area, isn't complete without stopping by A&B Burger at Time Out Market Boston. Head to A&B Burger at Time Out Market Boston's Fenway neighborhood today. You'll be glad you did. This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Lucia Lighting and Design, where people in the know go for the best possible lighting and design experience. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan and Company, brought to us by A&B Burger. We're having a fabulous time talking about the fabric of Boston, which is a lot of the arts, which is so great. Sandy Edgerley is with me today. She is a philanthropist. She is the co-founder of the Quin. You're also a businesswoman. I mean, you have a resume that, people say that, but it is true. So it's terrific to have you with us. I'm so glad that you could be with us. And I'm excited about our next guest. This is Kristen Hoskins, and she is the Director of Public Programming at Boston's Museum of Fine Arts, and we're happy to have you. Lots going on there at the museum.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's always fun to be able to come and talk about fun things happening in Boston, and especially at the MFA.
Absolutely. And one of the really cool things is that in just a couple of days, you guys start your Courtyard concert series. How many years have you guys been doing this, Kristen?
Oh, I was diving back into the records, and it looks like we started in 1983, which is shortly after our West Wing was built. And the Courtyard series, the Elaine and Jerome Rosenfeld Courtyard series, is an outdoor courtyard within the walls of the MFA. So it's this really, really special, unique place to see a concert because you're within the museum, but you're also outside, and you're experiencing music in a really a realm that you're surrounded by art.
It's beautiful. That's such a spectacular spot in the museum. I mean, everything about the museum is great, but that is such a great spot. So what was the idea behind this? I realize you probably weren't there in the 80s, but what's sort of the impetus behind the idea of having concerts there?
It sounds like, from our historian, she was telling me that really it was started as a jazz series under the stars. And it was when the West Wing was built. And so that space was really this new opportunity to bring concerts alive. We've held concerts at the museum for 100 years. It's really been, music has been a real part of the framework of the Museum of Fine Arts, which I love because I love that as a tradition. And I love being able to keep that alive as a tradition. And so it's gone through a lot of iterations over the years. It's just as the history of music and music has, and our relationship to music has changed over the years. And so it's really, I have to say, don't tell the other programs that I do throughout the year, but it's really my favorite thing that I program throughout the year, because to have the opportunity to pick 7 different groups to be able to showcase at the museum, and this includes national, international, and then local musicians, has this real opportunity to show a showcase of a range of music that's happening now, which is exciting.
Absolutely.
I was wondering if you seem to attract a different person who might not necessarily come to see the art in the museum, but does come to hear the music and then get inspired by the art that's surrounding them.
Absolutely. And your concert ticket allows you to come into the museum, right? So you're walking past works of art on the walls as you're heading to the concert. And then if you want to, you can stay if there's time after the concert, which often there is, that you can go and spend time in the museum. And I love to think about the interplay of our brains when we're looking at art, we're hearing art, we're outside, you're outside and you're seeing the birds fly overhead and the ivy on the walls, and you're hearing art on stage, and I think music is this real living art form, and it's hard to showcase and put in a gallery in the same way that we do other forms of art, but that's what makes it so special, right? It's this temporal experience, and that people really are coming for an experience, and it's a holistic experience because it's happening within the museum. And we really attract a wide range of audiences, from our members to new people coming to the museum for the first time that are brought in by the musician themselves, that they're a fan of that music and they come to the museum. So it's this really wonderful mix of people throughout the night.
So let's talk about the acts who are attracted to this venue. It's not a huge venue, so I'm not sure how many people are there for a concert. You can give us those numbers, but who are these groups that have interest in performing there and that you'd like to have performing there?
Yeah. So it's a 380 capacity, and we do have the chance that if it does rain out, we decide the day of, that we can go inside to our Remus Auditorium. So we do have a backup plan for the weather, because as we know, it's precarious sometimes here in Boston. I always hope for the best weather, and I stress out about it every week. But I actually start planning the concert series in January and February. So, January and February in Boston, it's cold, it's sometimes snowy, and I'm thinking about the summer. And I really think about these bands as what can bring that courtyard alive in the summertime. And so I think about that in the depths of winter, and I think about who hasn't been to the museum. So I think a lot about representation within the museum. What voices can we uplift that we haven't uplifted before? Except I will say we have had Patty Larkin. She plays every single summer. She has been playing at the museum since at least 1990. On and off, but pretty consistently, at least since I've been there and I've been planning the concert series. She plays every single summer. So she's the one that is like, she's the, and she sells out every summer. She's a folk musician from the Cape, and people are really, they look forward to that experience with her. Building out the rest of the series is really thinking about a range of musical styles, a range of places where they're from. Like, for example, this summer we have Makumba, who's a band from Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, and they're planning a summer tour around the United States, and they're touring right now. And that only happens every couple of years. And so I work really closely with agents who I know that are kind of bring me some of these real gems to say, this is what we can bring alive this summer. But it takes me months and months, and it's very fun and oftentimes a little stressful, but it's such a privilege to be able to do this, frankly, and to be able to choose what I think is going to come alive for people and for audiences. And I hope that I think it does, but I hope that it resonates with people in that way.
So I hate to say this because I don't want to be a poo-pooer, but boy, stress was the first thing that I thought of as you were explaining that. I'm thinking to myself, well, you've got 7 weeks you've got to fill, and but I clearly you do a great job at doing so. And there must be a lot of interest in people, bands that want to come and be the part of it.
Absolutely. We get a lot of solicitations, and I take them all very seriously. I listen to a lot of things. And sometimes it's about not right now, but maybe in future years or future programs. And, my office handles a wide range of programs, from lectures to films to our late night series. And so I sometimes find a place for other performers in other places if they can't fit in it. But then I also am already, we're about to start this concert series, but I'm already thinking about next year and who can build it out. So I'm always like a foot away, a week away, a year away, and that's kind of how the world of programming, I guess.
Sure. Absolutely.
Anyone that was a coup who you thought, oh my gosh, I would love to get this act to come, and that you pursued and then felt like victory when they when they said
Absolutely.
yes?
Absolutely. So we have Jake Blunt coming this summer, and he's actually playing with Mali Obasawan. And Jake I had actually invited last summer, and he was in the depths of starting his PhD in ethnomusicology at Brown and was like, I can't do it yet, but ask me again. And so I asked him again this summer. And so he is, an Afrofuturist scholar in Black musical traditions of banjo. And so he's going to bring that, but then pairing it with Mali Obasawan, who's an indigenous musician and composer. And so they're going to come together for this really, really unique and special night that is not to be missed. The other one I would say is Madison McFerrin, who is famously Bobby McFerrin's daughter, but is really an incredible musician in her own right. And it sometimes takes a while to get to the point of like, okay, we're confirmed, we're gonna go. And when that one happened, I was like, it just was this moment of like sheer like success, and I'm so excited about that concert. So each one brings kind of their own story and uniqueness to it, and excitement. And, sometimes by the time I get to the concert, I'm like, oh, it's been 6 months, but it's finally happening.
I've talked about you this long, and now I'm finally seeing you there. So tell everybody where you can learn more about the concerts. And, we've got 2 days before this begins. I'm assuming there are still some tickets available.
They're available at mfa.org. There are tickets available still to each of the concerts, but they are moving quickly, especially the first weeks of the concert series. So I would recommend getting the tickets. There's a discount for members. So if you are an MFA member, you get a discount for it. But, we keep the prices relatively reasonable to be able to attract a wide audience. So I do encourage everybody to go to mfa.org and check out the concerts in the Courtyard series.
Awesome. I think we're going to have to head over there,
I
Kim.
think you're absolutely right. We're going to grab dinner, and then we'll go over.
Exactly.
And we have a whole night planned.
We do.
Kristen,
you can also, one thing I did not say is that, so the Courtyard, you can bring your own seats. You can sit on a blanket, but we have seats also, and we have dinner there. So you can have your dinner under the stars. You can have a glass of wine or a specialty margarita while you're watching the concert.
This is getting better by the second. I am not kidding.
We'll be there.
You can be my guest anytime.
Kristen, thank you for being our guest. I so appreciate it. I know it's going to be a terrific series, and we will remind people throughout the series on our social media how they can check out tickets. So thank you again for being a part of Kerrigan and Company.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. That's fun, huh?
Yeah, it sounds like a blast. We'll definitely have to
All right.
give that a try.
I'm actually shocked that you're saying that you haven't been. I had to cover one time in the media. It was one of the openings, and it's been a number of years ago. And I can remember walking out there with the cameraman, looking around and thinking to myself, why am I working right now, right? Because it was that spectacular.
Right.
And the acoustics are off the charts.
Wow.
It's so beautiful in there. So
Yes.
it's neat that this series continues on and on.
Yeah, that is
so
great.
It's great.
100 years.
All right, we've got much more coming your way. Everybody, be sure you stay with us. This is Kerrigan and Company. Longer days that melt into warm summer nights. It's my favorite time of year. I love to spend time on my patio with family and friends, or just curled up in a chair with a good book. However, you can't read or entertain in the dark. That's where my friends at Lucia Lighting and Design come in. Whether you're changing fixtures to enhance the beauty of your property or thinking about safety and security, the experts at Lucia Lighting will help you find the perfect outdoor lighting for you. Get started by scrolling through their website at lucialighting.com and then make an appointment to visit their magnificent showroom located in Lynn, Massachusetts.
If you like rum, you're going to love Rumson's Rum, New England's most award-winning rum brand. Rumson creates distinctive and savory flavor profiles by hand-selecting and marrying the finest barrel-aged Caribbean rums. The spirits are then blended and finished in the New England Rum House. Choose from Rumson's Gold, Spice, Grand Reserve, or Coffee Rum, which is smooth and sweet with a warm roasted coffee flavor, a hint of vanilla, and a decadent buttery finish. Find Rumson's at liquor stores or ask for it at your favorite restaurant. Learn more at rumsons.com. That's rumsons.com. Rumsons. Life lived, life enjoyed.
This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater. Get your tickets to Frozen, running now through July 28th at nsmt.org. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan and Company. So glad my co-host keeping me company today is Sandy Edgerley. You have been a terrific co-host so far. I hope you're having a good
I'm
time.
having a blast. Thank you so much, Kim.
Good, absolutely. You and I have much more to talk about.
Yes.
But before we do so, we want to welcome another one of our guests. And she here with us is a woman who is extremely busy, I must tell you. This is Christy Cashman. She is an author. She is an actress. She is a mom. She is a horse owner. She's a castle owner. And the list goes on and on. There is so much more to talk about. Christy, it's great to see you.
Thank you. It's so good to be seen and so fun to be here. My goodness, after zooming in from Chatham and riding my horses and everything. This is so fun. And it's air conditioned.
Yeah, exactly. The big benefit, right? Exactly.
My barn is not.
And you're away from the traffic for at least 10 minutes here, which is, I think a blessing at this point.
Exactly.
You have been out promoting a fabulous book. I want to talk a little bit about it. It's called The Truth About Horses.
Yep.
It's a fictional story, I'm assuming. I say that.
Fictional.
I shouldn't say that.
It's based on real loss that I had. I think it was a lot about me processing my own loss because I lost my mom when I was 17. And I think that it's not written about me, but it's definitely written about my loss and the experiences of what a teenage girl goes through when a real kind of tragedy hits and how life can just change on a dime.
The book is beautiful.
Thank you.
It really is. It's beautiful. The horses theme is one that's important to you because you are an equestrian. Where did that all come from?
I grew up with horses. I was 3 years old. I remember when my parents put me on my first pony. Her name was Shirley. And that, it's like one of those things that I guess just consumed me. And then from there on, I was just passionate about horses. It was every horse book I could get my hands on, I read. Every time I could get my sister to corral the horses together to go on a ride, I was just, like butterflies in the stomach all the time. And it stuck with me, my passion for horses. I still have, I'm still riding. I still take care of my horses. I just love what they do when I'm around them. There's a sort of a meditative thing just about going in the barn and the smells and it clears my head. You can have a good day with the horses. You can have a bad day, but any day is great when you're able to be around them. For me, I think it's similar to anybody who's got a passion like, skiing or bicycling or, whatever it is. For me, it was the world that really called to me. And so as a writer, I just did what writers should always do, and I wrote about what I knew. I wrote a world that I knew about, a world that I could describe, a world that I had experience with all of my senses feeling alive. And I went with it. And then from there came the voice of Reese, the protagonist, who's 14 in the story, and a bit of a character, which I wasn't. I was, not like Reese at all. That's why she was so fun to write about, because she said so many things that I never would have said. I would have been, kicked in the butt and said, really like not how I could have, what I would have gotten away with in my household. So that's kind of why she was fun to write. And I think the other thing is the reason I felt like she could get away with it is because her father was so emotionally not there. And she was doing everything she could to get his attention, and that's why she picked up the swearing and all that, which was a lot of fun.
Did you always know that you wanted to write a novel? Because I know you've written children's books, but this is your first kind of major novel.
Interestingly, I wrote my children's books when I was sort of in the weeds of the novel. I was sort of lost a little bit, and which happens. It's kind of part of the process, and I didn't necessarily know what my next step was or where I was going with a subplot or even maybe the main plot, and I was stuck in the weeds a little bit. And I remember somebody in a class that I was taking said, write a children's book because it brings you back to the fun of writing, and it also makes your mind think differently. You have to think more simplistically about your story, and you have to write it for like a 5-year-old and start with once upon a time and then go from there and allow your story to not get so complicated. We tend to complicate things. We tend to really want to complicate things when we sit down to write. And really, in my mind, what I've learned is the actual arc of the stories should be somewhat simple. All of the stuff that you weave in can be complicated, but it's almost like jazz music. I love this analogy. I think it's so true. It's like you've got the melody, but you should be weaving in and out. Like the story arc is the melody, let's just say. But you should be weaving in and out so that you don't always see the architecture of the story underneath. And that was really helpful to me because I enjoy implementing the architecture and using a guide and using a structure, in story because it's there, but it shouldn't be recognizable.
Sure. Jane Seymour is involved in the project now, and you guys are going to a screenplay, correct?
Yep.
Hoping to take it to the big screen, right?
Yes, series though. Now we thought for a while it was potentially a film, but now the latest is Innovative Artists is taking it around as a series.
So maybe we would see it someday on Netflix or something like that?
I hope so, something like that. Yeah. They're taking it to a bunch of the big ones, I'm kind of out of the loop in that world, to be honest. I once I started writing the novel, I had to sort of put that aside as a thought as far as going to the screen. But because my background is in film and television, it was always there. And I'm sure it informed my writing of the novel, that, the visual aspect of the story.
Absolutely.
Because people do say, oh, I can see it. And I think that's great. And it's probably because of what I knew as a film career person for a while.
That's a big part of why I say that it's beautiful, because I do think you can very quickly visualize what this looks like.
Yeah.
So you did an excellent job at doing that.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your film and your background and your film career. You have been in you laugh.
I know, I laugh.
No, why are you laughing? Are you kidding?
Because it's been so long since I've been hired.
I'm looking around the room. I think you're the only one who's been in films so far. So
Exactly.
talk to us about that.
Share.
Did you come out of school thinking that's what you were going to do?
Well, I think I left North Carolina thinking that was what I was going to do. Actually, no, that's not true. I left North Carolina because I thought I was going to be a famous model.
Well, you could have been.
She could have been.
Absolutely.
So it's just funny because of how things happen, how things happen in life. And I actually had been recruited to an agency there in LA when I was I think I was 19 or something.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got out there, the agency had merged with another bigger agency and they didn't want me anymore. That was kind of heartbreaking. But it was also the first time you realize, okay, well, that doesn't matter. I'm going to dust myself off and
life happens this way, right?
Right. And then while I was out there kind of, working, getting the jobs that I could get as which were really kind of rinky-dink, silly jobs modeling in LA because most of the modeling was in New York. I got into some acting class. I was taking acting classes and that kind of thing. And then I went to New York, and I was with an agency there. And one of my first big jobs was with Vera Wang. I was her house model for wedding gowns.
How fun.
And that was actually really cool because
that is cool.
I felt like I'd made it.
Yep.
Yes, totally. Yeah, she does
guess so.
beautiful
From
gowns.
North Carolina to LA, and then I was in New York modeling for Vera Wang, who had just done the Nancy Kerrigan, a couple years before that.
Yeah.
The Nancy Kerrigan skating.
Absolutely.
Remember that?
Did she come in and tell you to
Oh
push
my
and
God,
pull?
she was so nice. She was so wonderful because when you're the house model, you're just there with 4 other models going. It was at the Mark Hotel at 77th Street in Madison. And you just are there with 4 or 5 other models, and she's there with all of her buyers, and you walk out with your, in the wedding gown. Now, this is one funny story that happened. I don't have very big boobs. I don't know if you noticed that. But I had wedding gowns that were supposed to be filled out. So they would give me something to stuff the wedding gown.
Sure.
And so it looked like I had this really thin waist with these great big in the wedding gown. And so I'd walk out, and Vera would almost kind of look at me like, oh, I don't remember that. And
Where did that come from?
Where did that come from? And a lot of the buyers would comment and be like, well, we would get that dress, but most of the girls don't have figures like that.
This one doesn't either, actually.
Exactly.
And I go back in the dressing room and pull out all the stuff.
So it is a little smoke
girl
and
can
mirrors
dream,
is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Vera would remember me as the big busted girl.
I love it. I love it. Hey, talk to us about the castle.
Yes, the
We
castle.
have to hear about that.
Oh my gosh, the castle.
Well, I mean, it is a really magical place. Let's go do a podcast out of there.
Okay, let's go.
Yes,
really
we're
should.
saying field
Yeah.
trip. Might
We can do that in the
be
fall.
order.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
So, Jay and I were married in Ireland at the Adair Manor, and I was the one actually that brought him over to Ireland because I was horseback riding there, and I met a group of friends who would go over every year. And I had been nowhere out of the country except Ireland when I met Jay. And Jay had been everywhere except Ireland, and he's half Irish. So
It was fate.
yeah, so I was on my way over there with some friends, and he invited himself along. And I was like, okay. And I said, what are you going to do when I'm out riding my horse every day or riding, with my friends every day? And he goes, I'm going to look for a castle. And that goes back like 25 years. And then, so we bought Kilkee Castle about 10 years ago. Has it been 10 years? I think so. 2000, not 10 years ago. Yeah, actually 10 years ago.
Yeah.
2013, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And we didn't do much with it at first. We kind of let it sit and try to figure out what we were going to do. We thought it might just be like a fun place to hold on to for the family. But it had been a hotel before we actually bought it. And what had happened was it had been abandoned for 2 years when we got it. And when we got it, we eventually gutted every room.
Wow, what a project
redid
that must have
everything. Yes,
my
and
gosh.
we're continuing to renovate. I'm sure you know what
Yes.
that's like.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Right.
We're back
A lifelong project,
We're
maybe.
back to trying to redo the whole thing yet again. But it is a really beautiful piece of property. It's right in the middle of County Kildare in Ireland, near Castle Dermot. It's there's a golf course. I don't golf, but it's it is beautiful.
It's important to have.
It's
yeah.
important to have. Yeah.
Is it haunted?
Yeah.
With good ghosts, I hope.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can own a
Naughty
castle
ghosts?
and not
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
haunted.
Oh, it's
Right.
haunted. It's
Yeah.
haunted. The first night that Jay and I stayed there, I mean, we could still smell the paint on the wall. The sconces had just been hung. The first night we were there, our armoire started rattling for no reason. And there's nothing on that wall, like the elevator's on another wall. And it's never happened since. There's
Yeah.
never been, it wasn't just a rattling, it was like a buzzing rattling.
Yeah.
And we're both standing in the room, like he's in bed. I'm standing there because I just put my pajamas on, and he says, well, go shut the door. But, shut the door, it's already in here, whatever it is. It's in the armoire.
It's joining us.
I don't think it cares if
it's
the door is
joining
open
us
or
for the
closed.
evening, I think. Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing, though, because it was rattling, it
Yeah.
was buzzing, and so the next day, Ronan Tynan, the tenor,
Yes.
and he's a good friend of ours, he went and got a gallon of holy water from the church.
Great.
And we went around to every nook and cranny of the place.
Absolutely.
Spread holy water everywhere.
Yeah.
And so, actually, I don't sense any real bad energy there, but
Right.
I could be blind to it. I don't know. I've been alone there before, and I haven't been afraid.
Right.
so-
Good. Maybe the ghosts are
I do
happy.
keep my lights
They're
on.
probably happy that
I think
you
they're-
brought some life to the place.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think
those
there's
are
any. I don't think that haunted necessarily has to mean bad.
No.
I
No,
just
I
think
think it's, I
I
think
just
it's
think
just other
they're
energies that are caught there, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. But
right.
I don't know. I don't know if I would call it a ghost or a spirit or whatever. But definitely other energy, that you feel.
I love that. I think
Yeah.
that's terrific. You can't own a castle that doesn't
That's
have a little
right.
something going on.
I think
Exactly.
probably are. Yeah, probably. Don't you think the Quin might be haunted?
Maybe.
Yes, right. There's a whole lot of buildings here in the city
Yeah.
that are haunted. No two ways about it. Christy Cashman, thank you. How do people get hold of the book, and when do you think the series could happen?
Well, if we're pitching now, I don't know what that means. I think it could be anywhere from when it starts development from 6 months to a year, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure,
Okay.
but it's probably, I would say, sooner than later.
Fantastic.
And the book's available anywhere. It's Amazon. Ask your local bookstore. Support your local bookstore. If they don't have it, they can order it for you. But I always tell people to go to your local bookstore and get it from there. And then from there, it's available online, Amazon, Books A Million, Target, everything.
The Truth About Horses. It's a beautiful book. It really, really is. And it's a fabulous story. So if you have not had a chance to read it, I suggest that you do. Thank you so much for being a part of Kerrigan and Company.
It's been so wonderful. Thank you.
Great to see
much
you.
fun.
Great
So
to
great
see you.
to see you.
We'll all meet again at the Haunted Castle.
Exactly. See you there.
I'd love that.
This is Kerrigan and Company.
Prepare to let it go at North Shore Music Theater's magical production of Disney's Frozen live on stage at Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater, now through July 28th. Tickets at nsmt.org.
Summer's a great time of year. Lots of outdoor activities that are tons of fun, but it can also be tough on your skin. Between the sweat, the sunscreen, salt water, and heat, skin takes a beating. And that's why I'm suggesting that you book a free consultation with the team at Sienna Aesthetics in Beverly. Sienna offers the latest technology in skincare. The medically trained staff will help you determine the best treatment for your skin that'll make you feel like $1 million during the summer months and for the whole year. Whether it's a great relaxing facial, Botox injections, or fillers, you'll leave Sienna looking and feeling your best. I should know. I'm a customer. Set up your free consultation today. Go to siennaaesthetics.com. That's siennaaesthetics.com. Tell them Kim sent you. This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Sienna Aesthetics Medical Spa. Take years off your face with the very latest technologies at Sienna Aesthetics in Beverly. Welcome back, everybody. This is Kerrigan and Company, brought to you by A&B Burger. Keeping me company today has been Sandy Edgerley. She is a philanthropist. She is the co-founder of the Quinn House in Boston, and she's now becoming my good friend. I'm so glad that you could be with us today. We've had a good show, huh?
We really have. It's been really
Lots of fun.
fantastic.
Really
Lot of fun.
interesting. Christy is absolutely adorable.
she is.
If you haven't read the book is really great. So be sure.
I ordered it this morning.
Good
so
for you.
should have
I
it
think
any
you'll
day.
really enjoy it. Again, Jane Seymour just seems like the perfect person to be involved in this project. And really interesting that it could become a series versus a full-length movie.
Yes.
So that's very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
Very, very
Yeah.
exciting. Sandy, we do this thing called Focus Technology Fast 5. Okay. It's a rapid fire question and answer segment. It gives us an opportunity to get to know our co-host a little bit better. So if you're okay with that, let's try it, shall we?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Right.
Tell me, where's your favorite place to travel?
I'm gonna say Vienna. My mother's from Vienna, Austria, and I love to go back there, kind of to her family roots.
Oh, that is fantastic. Expanding the Quinn, yes or no?
Not sure yet. We're trying to maximize what it is right now and have it reach its full potential, but never say never.
What's your next project?
Well, right now I'm kind of enjoying helping my son plan his wedding. My oldest son is getting married in October, so that's the latest kind of family venture.
You own the company Hexagon Properties. They are luxury properties for rent. What makes a luxury property?
I think it's a combination of high quality materials, beautiful design, but also it's got to be comfortable and homey.
What do you do for downtime?
I love to hang out with my husband, Paul, and our 4 kids. We love to go to Rhode Island and to a place in Jamestown and just be together with the family and friends.
Bonus question, what's the best part of Boston?
I'm going to say the sports teams, especially having just had the Celtics championship and the duck boat parade. I think that's pretty much one of the most special things.
You know, I thought maybe what you would say would be the philanthropic spirit of the people in Boston. I've lived in lots of places. I've lived here for a long time now. But I find Boston to be one of the most giving places. Would you agree?
I 100% agree with you. I think that's very observant of you. I remember Linda Whitlock, who's a dear friend, who had been the CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston when I was chair of it, said different cities have different currency. Maybe in San Francisco it might be, what's your startup or your tech, your tech startup. In New York it might be just money, might be. But in Boston, it's what are you involved in? How are you giving back? What difference are you making? And I think that's really true.
Yeah. And I think that's led you to be involved with a lot of different organizations. You just mentioned the Boys and Girls Club, which I know has been very important to you. United Way of Mass Bay is an important one. Horizons for Homeless Children. I know that's it. I was just at an event for them at the JFK Library a couple of weeks ago.
Impactful.
Which one has meant the most to you? I know that's hard. That's like picking a child, I realize.
It really is. Well, two that I've chaired the board of were Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston and the Boston Foundation. So I think when you chair a board, there's a level of commitment that you're making to the organization and a level of involvement. And so I felt like those two, I just got to know so well that I'm just a deep believer in both. I love youth-focused organizations, so City Year, as you mentioned, Horizons for Homeless Children, Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston, Big Brother, Big Sister. Those are all, near and dear to my heart, I think, because they really help youth villages is another one, make a difference. The Wonder Fund. I think if you make a difference in the life of a child, with the investment is in their early years and the payback is a lifetime.
Absolutely. Yeah, our former First Lady.
Yes.
Running the Wonder Fund at this point. What would you say to people, and how do you go out and recruit people for some organizations? What do you say to them to get them involved?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. At the Quin, we launched the Quin Impact Fund, which is our way of having collective impact in the community. All of our members, actually, one of the questions we ask for potential new members is, what difference are you making in your field, in your community, or in the world? And so we have a membership that's very engaged in making a difference in their own way. But the Quin Impact Fund is kind of a chance to come and have collective impact. And one of the goals is both to give funds philanthropically to local nonprofits that are really making a difference, but also to engage our members, inform them, inspire them. Because there's so much innovation happening in Boston. There's so many great solutions to some of the thorniest problems that are really working here. And so I think part of the hope is if maybe younger members who haven't necessarily become so involved yet, but are interested in getting involved, might come, learn, and get inspired to do more.
Listen, it has been such a delight for me to learn about the Quin and to learn about everything that you're doing there. You're making a difference in so many places. And I think everybody in Boston should know more about some of the things that you do, and they should be sure to check that out. We didn't even get into all your businesses and all of those kinds of things, so you'll just have to come back.
Oh, I'd love to. Anytime, Kim. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being a part of Kerrigan & Company. And we are so glad that all of you could be with us. Thanks for watching us on YouTube or listening wherever you get your podcast. Please be sure that you follow us on social, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Kerrigan & Company. To find out who will keep me company and be my co-host on the next episode, be sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. Kerrigan & Company is recorded at the Big Night Studios at the TD Garden in Boston. You can view the podcast on YouTube and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure you tell a friend. The executive producer of Kerrigan & Company is David Thompson. Our engineer is Peter Hurley, and our social media managers are Grace Kerrigan, Colby Thompson, and Riley Thompson. See you next time.